Who saw this? Martin O'Neill slams Ange Postecoglou's lack of plan B and set piece focus at Spurs on TalkSPOrt.
He actually didn't, if you watch the
Didn't
interview.
at all. Didn't at all.
It's not like it's another example of the headline completely being different from the detail. In fact, he very carefully worded how he responded to the questions around a possible lack of plan B. Yeah, I watched a chunk of the, because you put it on the run sheet, I had to go looking for it. But there's about an 18-minute clip on it, and I watched about 10 minutes of that, which, well, it's 80 minutes of the chat, and the first 10 minutes cover the Ange stuff. Basically, yeah, basically somebody phoned into TalkSport, a Spurs fan, apoplectic, slating Ange, no plan B. You know, we shouldn't be getting, we shouldn't have dropped as many points as we have in the second half of the season, blah, 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 blah. And Simon Jordan gleefully jumped on that bandwagon and tried to pin Martin into a position where he would say there was no plan B. And basically O'Neill said, well, what he basically said along the lines of what is a plan? Like, what is a plan B? Is a plan B is when you change things, changing things mid game, bringing on subs, etc. is as much of a plan B as anything else. If those subs don't work, then you can be accused of not having a plan B.
It wasn't a great answer, I thought.
Well, he also went on to say that he thinks over time.
Yes. In other words, he will develop that. But he was basically agreeing that Ange doesn't really have a plan B. And that's something a lot of people said, including I said, whenever he went to England, was that against better players and better coaches, his lack of tactical flexibility might be a bit of a problem for him.
Well, it could come unstuck. But I think Spurs fans for more than half the season have been delighted to take the rough with the smooth because of the quality of the football it's played. And ultimately, that's what anyone who watches the Ange team enjoys it. And you know that you're going to be mostly entertained and you'll mostly win games and you'll mostly score goals, but there will be times when you'll be exposed, especially at that kind of level. But I would say if you watched that first half, which I did before flicking across to the real game, they were pretty unlucky to be down 3-0 at half-time. Now, it's absolutely possible that can happen because of the way they play. But they had a really good goal, chopped off by, again, millimetres on VAR. From that chop off, they had a pretty reasonable shout for a penalty in this day and age, waved away. And from that incident, they scored the Sanya goal on the break. And then the set piece thing is valid because he had that issue with us, and they've lost a couple of goals at set pieces as well. But even accounting for all that, they had the better of the play in the first half. If you look at the score, it looked like they've got pumped, but they were pretty unlucky to be 3-0 down at halftime.
Well, I would like to back Martin O'Neill because I didn't like the way Ange looked in his eyes, and Martin O'Neill's an absolute legend and a highly intelligent man. Didn't like the way Ange looked in his eyes and didn't agree to stay at the club. Lied right to his face. So Martin O'Neill can say whatever he wants about Ange. Ange can get one of them writing about him. All right. You know what I mean? I know what your plan B is. They plan A better. I loved Ange's footballing philosophy, right? I loved that a master of one trade is better than a jack of all trades. You know what I mean? Being fixated and dedicated to that singular plan. And sure, as you said, Paul, they were down 3-0 at half-time. I'm sure if you'd asked any Tottenham fan, the same if you'd asked any Celtic fan when Ange was here and we were down 3-0 at half-time, do you see a way back into this game? Every one of them would have said yes, because that is the style of football that's played. So, just to highlight that, but I agree. I back Martin O'Neill to the ends of the earth. Ange can.
I guess the point is O'Neill didn't slate him, and he actually treaded very carefully and was very respectful. And he was in classic Jim White and Simon Jordan tabloid nonsense, tried to pin him to a position to criticize him, and he didn't take the bait because he's smarter than them, obviously.